Coming up, my new place to ramble and the best PC ever.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Hello, everybody. Welcome on to another Double Tap. Shaun Preece, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, and goodbye. Are you leaving the show, Stephen Scott? I thought this was your favourite place to ramble.
Oh, well,
and rant,
I may have somewhere else to ramble because, there's a new app in town. I'm going to tell you about it in a minute. I'm rather excited about this. Also, the best PC ever, and I'm not kidding.
Oh, okay. I'm assuming you're saying PC. Windows. I've been telling you for years. Yes, thank you.
Breaking news.
I like Windows. There you go. It's official. It's
I tell you what,
amazing.
What you've got here is another obsession, Stephen Scott. Keyboards, I can't remember what else, but now it's this.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is that I've kind of run out of keyboards to play with and run out of money to buy them. And so it's a case of, I need something new to play with. And yeah, I think I may have found my latest obsession. And I hate to say it, guys, I know a lot of you listen to the show and, really strain to not go near the credit card afterwards. It's like, hold it back. And it's like, don't go. But I think today I might tempt you. I will tell you, though, this is something that really did surprise me. Yesterday, we had the wonderful Chris Cook on the show talking about the Monarch from HumanWare. And I'd been following a conversation on Mastodon between a couple of different people discussing the Monarch and how they were excited about it. One person in particular was even thinking of putting down her own money, actual money, to buy this thing. And, I mean, it's not a huge surprise. Of course people are going to buy it. But, the fact is that she's, putting together a bit of funding and she's trying to get the money together to buy it. And I sent a little message, a little teasing message over the weekend saying, hold off until you hear Monday's episode of the show because, you might want to listen to that first.
Oh.
Knowing that if anything's going to make her hit the buy now button, it's going to be that interview with Chris. If she's got the money sitting there, she's probably going to hit the buy button. And I've since heard she has. I'm not saying it's nothing to do with Double Tap. I mean, she was clearly going to do this anyway, but, I think this tipped her over the edge for sure.
Can we blame Chris Cook for that? That wasn't it's not our fault.
I think we should applaud Chris Cook for that. Well done, Chris Cook.
Well, it's a good point. And as we mentioned, we were slightly almost resistant about talking about it for too long because it's, that price point is, well, let's be honest, it's massive, right? So you think, I don't know. But when you just look at the features and what it offers, you know what? Not everyone can't afford it. So for those people, why not? And there is funding and schemes in place in certain areas. So I think Chris did an excellent job as well, by the way.
Oh, I agree. Greg got in touch to say, Greg in Pennsylvania, a good friend who is always holding me to account. It's always my fault, whatever is said on this program. Doesn't matter who says it. But he was saying, why do you keep calling this a consumer device? This is something, it's a technological breakthrough. It's an amazing piece of kit, but you can't necessarily call it and shouldn't call it a consumer device because that's not what it is. Well, I'm sorry, Greg, I disagree with you. It absolutely is a consumer device. You know how I know? Because consumers are buying it. Of course, you can go out and buy it right now if you want. It's not like it's locked off to only business or only education. I would say that it's likely to be bought by business and education because of the price level. But for those who are interested, for those who are clearly excited about it, for people who've got access to funding to get it for themselves, then of course you would maybe not consider that a consumer purchase. But, my Mantis Q40 then isn't a consumer device, is it? Because it's over the cost for most people to buy, and yet people do buy it. So no, I don't say it's not a consumer device because it is a consumer device. People, if you can buy it, if I can call up HumanWare and say, I'd like one of these, please, then it's a consumer device.
Well, it does depend on your definition, and I can understand where Greg's coming from. But for me, if it's that price point is how many people can afford it, right? But
that's besides. A Rolls Royce not a consumer device then?
But if you'd let me finish, Stephen Scott,
I will absolutely not.
The definition for me of what a consumer device is exactly that. Is it available to the home user, to the consumer itself, or is it a direct line? There's a lot of laptops and other gadgets out there which are direct to business only and not available to the consumer. So, I mean, it depends how you want to define it, but I kind of understand where he's coming from.
Well, I'll tell you why I get annoyed by this, because Greg used to berate me because I would dare to talk about the cost of equipment being too high. Now, hang on a minute. Are you now saying that I shouldn't talk about the cost being too high? What are we talking about here? Look, at the end of the day, if you can afford to buy it, you can afford to buy it. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? Is it a consumer device? Yes, because I can pick up the phone to HumanWare and buy it. So by definition, it is. Whether or not you can afford it, that's going to be subjective. And there are people who are going to be looking at funding sources. And of course, in many parts of the world, there are going to be places and schemes that will allow you to get access to funding. And that's brilliant. And look, of course, we all want the cost of these to come down. And I think over time it will. I mean, clearly there's a hunger for this. And I've got to say, that hunger is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. I really am kind of surprised by the reaction out there towards this device. Not that it's not a wonderful piece of kit. I don't doubt for a second that it is. I'm just kind of amazed of how many people will be willing to actually put their own money down to buy it at this stage. I mean, it's clearly, I mean, going by what Chris said yesterday and what I've heard others say, this is a tremendous piece of kit.
I haven't heard anyone who's managed to go hands-on with it or even been lucky enough to actually own one say that, it's okay, or it's all right. Everyone is absolutely raving about it. So, I agree.
Chris did get back in touch, though. She wanted to clarify something. We were talking about, at the beginning of the interview, about tactile images that we remember. I say images. It was more like line drawings and graphs back in the day when I was at school. And you had those machines. Remember that machine we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
go on, tell me what it's called.
Here we go. This is kind of an expansion on what Chris was saying when she was talking about that PIAF machine. She wanted to clarify what she was talking about.
Another way to produce tactile graphics is to use a specialized embosser whose initials are PIAF, which stands for Pictures in a Flash. How cool is that? I know some of our O&M instructors, orientational mobility instructors, use that at our agency. And what you do is you send the image to this specialized tactile embosser, and it raises up the picture on special capsule paper. And they sell various kinds and sizes of the capsule paper. And it's really cool for creating a graphic on the fly. And HumanWare makes this, and you can find out more information on their website. And it's not as expensive as you would think. It's $1,749 US.
So there you go. That was the device that we were talking about, the PIAF machine. Pictures in a Flash. I like that.
Oh, Edith Piaf. Okay.
That's what I was thinking of as well, yeah.
No, you know what? That doesn't satisfy me.
Oh.
I am so sorry, but it doesn't.
Sorry, Chris, we did try.
No, I am sure the machine that I used to see at college was something else, like
I just cannot get the name of it.
Like a German name or something. You know, like they all seem to be. Kurzweil and Yui.
It was swell paper, wasn't it? It was swell paper that they used. I don't mean paper that was swell, as in, like a nice guy.
No, it was, yeah, exactly what Chris described there. There was that, yeah, but absolutely. I'm sure it was called something else over here. But okay, that's fine. Good
Feedback at doubletaponair.com if you can figure out what on earth we're talking about, because we both kind of know, but we haven't figured it out yet. That 3 a.m. moment of clarity did not happen. I want to talk about this new app that's out. It's called Ramblio, and it's a new social media app that's now available in beta. You can go and download it. You can sign up. It's a test flight app. You can find the details. We'll put the link in our notes, I should say, not on social media. Well, we could maybe do that as well, I guess. But yeah, you can get this for iOS only. Don't start sending the hate. I'm just the messenger. But yes, it is available on iOS, and it's a social media app which is kind of like, it feels a little bit like the early days of Vorail, if you ever used that. When you had an audio message system. You can use text as well, but a lot of people who are using it are jumping on it and are sending audio messages. I downloaded it. I had a little play this morning. I mean, even though it's in very early beta, it seems to be pretty well laid out. I will say I'm running iOS, what are we on, 26? Oh yeah, of course I can just remember the year now, and I know what iOS version I'm on. I'm running iOS 26 in developer beta. Less said about that, the better. I'm assuming it's all working well.
Public beta's available, so why are you running the developer?
Public beta I had an issue with, so I upgraded to the developer beta thinking it would solve the issue that was in the public beta. It didn't.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well done.
Of course, now I'm running apps. I have no idea if it's good or not, but, I have no idea because I can't tell the difference.
Running a beta
on a beta. What could possibly go wrong? But I will say, what a nice little app, really nice idea. And it's just about sharing messages. And it's almost like a social media, audio app that we've been, funnily enough, we were talking about recently. We were saying there's a bit of a lack of them. Well, Ramblio, Ramblio, is available. Just search for it by name and just search for Ramblio Beta test flight and you in whatever search engine, and you'll likely come across it. You'll be able to join the test flight. You can get instant access. You can install the app. If you've got the test flight app installed, I imagine, which I believe I do, you can then download this app and try it out. But it's well worth testing, I think. Did you try it? Because we were talking about it over the weekend. Did you do your homework?
No, I totally forgot about it, to be honest. Is there a limit to how many people can sign up? Is it a limited beta, or is it totally open? Anyone can try it right now?
I think it's open to pretty much anyone at the moment. It seems to be, there's no limit on it, as I'm aware of. I
love this idea. I think this is fantastic. I mean, how many messages do we send to each other every day? And 99% of them are audio, right?
Love audio. The name. Sorry, I just want to say I love the name.
Ramblio.
Yeah, just ramble. I just love that, rambles. That's what it is. It's just a little ramble.
It's so difficult to come up with names for services now. It's got to be slightly trendy and funky and spelt differently. It works. I'm not. Who cares what the name is? I want to know.
So judgy.
Do you know what though? Let's talk honestly here. I'm a little bit worried by audio-only social media, and I'll tell you for why. Because we've seen these in the past. You mentioned Vorail. We had Jacket FM. What was the other one? There's been a couple of others as well.
Clubhouse.
And Clubhouse, of course, we love them, right? The blind swarm and take them over. I've seen so much toxic behavior on these, and you could argue that's social media as well, but it always seems to collapse in on itself. And maybe it's because it's it's a small blind world, because you see a lot of the same names and things like that. I hope that this continues and doesn't go down that rabbit hole. That's the only thing I worry about. So what you're saying is you hope that social media doesn't turn into a cesspit of misery and depravity. Do you know what it comes down to? Is moderation tools. Who moderates what's okay to say and what's not to say? We go back to free speech again. Do we have, other mutual peer moderation in other users? Do we have some overseeing, godlike creature that oversees what we can say? How do you do it? Or do you just have a mute and block option so you can moderate yourself and others? It's difficult. It's really difficult. But, I mean, we're getting a little bit deep in the weeds here. But, I'm going to try this out because I really want to see one of these that work.
Yeah, I like the implementation. I agree with you, though. I think that the biggest problem is a lot of people come up with great ideas for these apps, but they don't really consider the impact. It's almost like, the way that the people who set up Twitter and Facebook back in the day, almost kind of did the same thing, right? They kind of built this great app and never really thought about the impact it was going to have on the world. I don't know, but I don't imagine that Ramblio is going to have the impact that Twitter and Facebook had on the world. That's a good thing, I suppose. But if it has an impact in the blind community, which I think it will, because it's kind of being brought about. I don't know the backstory here. I don't know if it's a blind group of developers or it's just someone who's developing this and the intention is for it to be blind.
Tweezcake,
specific.
Isn't it? It's from the same people who brought you Tweezcake.
I don't know if it is. I could be wrong. I don't know. I thought similar as well. And then when I read where I got it from, it seemed to be someone I'd never heard of, and I thought that's interesting. So unless I was reading it wrong, and more than likely I am, but
yeah,
whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I do like the idea. I kind of like the suggestion that it's going to be, and hopefully get across platform as well. It'd be nice to see it on Android. But, look, again, oftentimes it's small groups of people, if not single developers, who are building these things. So let's give them a chance. But yeah, really like this idea. Ramblio, available on an internet near you and on an iPhone near you. Just search for Ramblio and search for Test Flight, and you should be able to find it. I want to talk about computers, Shaun Preece. I'm going to surprise you today.
Go on, surprise me, Stephen Scott.
I was not in the market for a new PC. Honest.
You're such a liar. You're always on the market.
No. I'm always ready to buy, not on the market. I will say, yeah, I was thinking what to do because I have a big desktop PC that is a big power-hungry thing. And I thought, it's a nice little machine. And my intention was I wanted a little machine that would sit beside me here on the desk when I'm doing the show, I just wanted something really simple that I could just have my notes on, with, away from the main broadcast machine I've got, just literally separated out so that I could work away and get my notes and check my files as we go through, and I can check that I'm on the right folder and all the rest of it, when I'm doing the show.
There's notes, listeners.
I know that, but
saying.
no, I know
There's
that.
notes.
That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a note taker. I've got a Mantis Q40 sitting here that could do that. That's not what I'm looking for.
Listeners may be surprised to know that we do have notes on every episode.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I surprised myself at that. Yeah. A few people have said that to me already. There's notes, but yeah, we do occasionally have notes, and I certainly, when we're going through the feedback, the way I do it is I have the emails in a folder, and I go through them one by one, so I know who's coming up next. Otherwise, I just press a button, randomly a voice will start playing. I mean, that could happen as well, and that would certainly make it more interesting, arguably.
Yeah, why not?
But
roulette.
Yeah, that's right. Voicemail roulette.
So let's just hang on a second.
Yes.
You want a separate PC because why?
Well, look,
why is it separate? Why does it need to be separate?
The
Why
system
can't you run
I'm
it
using,
off one?
The system I'm using for broadcast is not. I don't want to touch that when it's doing its thing. Right? I want to leave it alone because I guarantee you I will stop the recording or I'll do something that I shouldn't do.
Oh, for the wrong thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's a case of let that machine do its own thing. That the broadcast machine does its thing, and over here I've got this little machine that I can just connect to, and I know that I'm safe in that world. If I close a file, it doesn't matter, kind of thing. So that was my thinking, and I thought, okay, I'll get something. I don't really want a laptop sitting on the desk. It's not enough space to do all that. So I thought, okay, I tell you what I'm going to look into, because I keep getting ads on my Facebook feed for mini PCs. These little tiny computers. And when I watch reviews on YouTube about these, you often hear them from companies like B-Link. You'll maybe have heard of them. You might have heard of the name Geekom. Probably not heard of the company, but you've probably heard the name before, because it does come up often quite a lot, especially around Amazon Prime Day. You'll sometimes see sales for like the B-Link mini PCs. And
that's what I've been seeing in my Amazon recently, and I looked into it because the hardware is getting better and better.
Well, the hardware is interesting. I don't know about better and better. It's getting interesting because the price point is interesting. And when you're thinking about, I want to buy something good, I don't want to waste my money, what can I go for? What are the options that are out there? Well, the mini PC seemed like an interesting idea, but the problem was all the YouTube videos were kind of presenting it as ideal for a server, or, maybe something that would work in a workplace. Stock traders apparently could use these things. People who wanted to use them for media servers, that kind of thing, right? And I thought, but how does it actually behave as a computer? Is it any good? Like, what's in this thing? I mean, you look at the specifications, you see that it's got Intel, often i7, i9 processors, AMD top 7 or 9, AMD Ryzen 5, 7, and 9 processors in there. And you think, okay, that's interesting. 16 gig of RAM, often minimum. You get 512 SSD, goes right up to 2 terabytes. There was one I saw that was on sale, had an Intel Core i9 with 32 gig of RAM and 2 terabyte hard drive in it.
Oh, stop it.
And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And the price point was really interesting. And, great discounts and all that. And I'm thinking, but there's got to be a catch here. There's just got to be a catch. Now, look, what you're buying is a mini PC, and very much like buying a Mac Mini, right? You're buying a box. That's it. You're not getting a keyboard. You're not getting a mouse. You're not getting a monitor. You're getting none of that stuff. You're buying a box that you have to bring your own devices to, the BOYD, as they used to call it, bring your own device. Okay, I can live with that because I've got 8 billion keyboards, so I think I'll be all right.
Yes.
No issue with that. Don't really need a monitor. What I did buy, though, was an HDMI dummy, which I can put into the computer to trick the computer into thinking it's got a monitor attached, which is handy. And you do need that when you're using services like either a remote desktop or even remote desktop connection, remote incident manager, for example. Those are really important to have because the computer needs to think it's got a display so that it can display something to the other device. Well, yeah, and I've been learning this the hard way, especially with Ira, trying to connect with them. If you don't have anything connected to that HDMI, they can't see anything. They can't see anything on the screen.
I've heard that issue before. Was it WhatsApp? Strangely enough,
WhatsApp wouldn't work. That stopped. That did stop after a while.
They fixed that.
They did fix it, but there was a period where if you went to the WhatsApp app with nothing connected to the HDMI, you would not be able to get anything from WhatsApp at all. You'd think it might be minimized, but it wasn't. It was just even maximized. It was a blank window as far as it was concerned. I'm sure that'd be the case with other apps as well. But so looking at all the different options that were out there, I thought, well, okay, you know what I'm like, right? I'm going to look straight to the top end of the market. What's the best I can get? And then I thought, okay, hang on. Bear in mind what I'm buying this for. The application is to be basically a really simple note-taking machine, right? It does not need to be powerful.
Running Notepad and File Explorer, basically.
Exactly. So what do I need here, right? I'm not even going online with it. I don't need to. Let's look at the cheapest option. And so I did. I looked at an option which came in at 439 Canadian dollars, which is about £289 UK. And it's the Geekom A5 Mini. Now, this is it's a tiny little machine. I mean, this thing is so small. It's smaller than a Mac Mini.
Oh, are you listening, Apple?
I know.
Oh, they
managed it.
Outdone. Quick question before you carry on, because when I think of a mini PC, I think of those almost USB flash drive, pen drive like an Amazon Fire TV stick with an HDMI port on one end that you plug straight into the back of a TV. They were very big a while back, but we're not talking about that. When we say mini PC, we are actually talking a separate Apple TV-like square, but a small box, right?
Very similar idea. Yeah, you're kind of talking about, I'd say, I mean, if you can think of the new Mac Mini, if you've had hands-on with the new Mac Minis, which are those small, little boxes, then that is very similar. Other than the rounded edges and it being a little bit smaller, I mean, it's got square edge and it is smaller, but it's pretty much the same footprint as the Mac Mini. And this is a tiny little machine. And, when you get out of the box, you're kind of like, wow, this is incredible. I was actually really surprised, if I'm honest, at the quality of it. I was kind of expecting it to be really cheap and plastic, but it's not. It's got a metal casing. It's very sturdy. And the higher the range you go, you can, I think the top end one, you can put up to 200 kilograms of weight on top of it if you wanted to, and it'll hold. Which
Run it over.
Yeah,
okay.
If you wanted to, okay. So they're well built, right? They come with it comes with a separate power supply, not a USB-C power supply, which kind of annoyed me because I kept thinking I could use this on the move. But no, it's got your kind of traditional type connector, you might say, that kind of rounded little connector that goes into the back of the...
A DC pin connector.
DC pin, that's exactly it. Yeah. So that goes into the back of it. In terms of connectivity, you have tons of ports. On the front, you've got 2 USB ports. One of them is power delivery as well. They're both USB 3.2. You've got an SD card slot as well on the side, which is pretty cool. Full-size SD card slot on the side. And on the back, you've got a mixture of different things. You've got 2 HDMI ports, interesting. You've got 2 USB 3.2 ports, and you've got 2 USB-C ports as well, and a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port. That's interesting.
That's quite high spec, a 2.5 gig Ethernet port.
And, bear in mind the price here, right? So on the side as well, you've also got a Kensington lock if you wanted that as well. I guess that's in business. That's quite popular. At home, I don't really worry about anyone stealing it. Although in saying that, the size of it, you do kind of think, wow.
Well, if I come round, I'll be straight in my pocket. You better lock it down.
I was honestly, I was really excited when I opened up the box. I'm thinking, this is really nice. It feels nice. The ports are amazing. Feels sturdy. Solid on the desk. And so I hooked everything up. I know, but these things matter, right? I didn't want to buy some piece of garbage. Don't. Well,
I'm thinking?
No, hang on though. You said to me before I got this, you said your concern around this was the parts, was the structure of this thing. How good is this going to be? And when I was looking at the reviews, I saw one review that said, I've had this for 6 weeks and it just died.
Yes. And
I had to send it back. And the reason I didn't stop at that point was because I thought, well, look, I've had machines that cost a lot of money and they just died. So I'm not overly concerned. One machine in many, I mean, every other review was fairly glowing. So, I was taken off that. But yes, please continue.
No, I don't care, what the actual specs are. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care the build quality even, because I wouldn't expect much for that sort of price. What I care about is, can it run my screen reader without stuttering and falling over?
Yeah, 100%. And, that's the next part of this, right? But I will say, I think that the design matters because it shows the care and attention to detail. I've seen computers that come along that cost more than this that don't feel as solid as this thing. And it is a desktop computer, so that's something to bear in mind. Although I'm going to talk a little bit about that later because I have to tell you, Geekom, by the way, are going to bankrupt me. I am telling you right now. But anyway, the switched the thing on. I haven't hooked a monitor to it, obviously. I'm not going to do that. So I had my HDMI dummy connected first, powered it all up. I used a pair of USB-C earpods, connected them up, powered the thing on, power button on the front, by the way, not underneath, stuck up, the inside of the machine, which is hard to get to by anybody. Properly on the front, next to, by the way, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Good to know. Hooked. I used the USB earpods though, and got the thing started up. About a minute into the startup, I heard the startup chime from Windows, and I was able to immediately start Narrator. I connected my PC via a 2.4 gigahertz USB dongle. I could have connected it up by a cable, but I chose just to use the dongle I'd already set up on the other computer. So just took it out of that, put it into the Geekom machine, and that basically connected up the keyboard right away. So there's no issue there either. And so instantly, that's me. I'm in. I had Narrator on, and I set up the machine. No issues there. No issues with Narrator. No issues with login or setup at all. Entirely without a screen. I was very impressed with myself more than anyone else.
Well done.
And then I did what every good computer user does: immediately download Chrome. Immediately go and download NVDA or JAWS, your chosen choice. I chose NVDA for this one. And I downloaded NVDA onto it, got it running. And I'm telling you, I've had it running now for, what are we talking, maybe I want to say 5 days. Got all my apps installed. I have been using it. I have not had one stutter, one issue, one error, one problem. It has been a delight to use. And when you talk about screen reader stutter, I mean, this thing is so quick to respond to everything I'm doing. I am very impressed. I'm excited by it. I am amazed at what I've got for £289.
Well, let's quickly talk about what processor did you get for that money? Because you mentioned the i9s, the i7s, which is sort of the high-end range. So what did you get for this?
Well, I chose to go down, I picked this one in particular because I didn't want to go down the Intel route. To me, Intel's great if you want to fry an egg. I don't need an egg cooker. I wanted a computer. And so I decided to go down the AMD route. I went down the route and I got a Ryzen 7 because that was the deal I could get. I got an AMD Ryzen 7, I want to say 5825. I could be totally wrong there, but I think that's the number of it. And it's got a U at the end. And apparently what that signifies is it's a mobile processor. In other words, it's a laptop processor in there. It's not a full desktop processor. You might be able to explain better than I can what that actually means.
Well, it used to make a big difference because the difference between a desktop class and a laptop class or a mobile processor was the amount of power that it would draw from the system. Obviously, if you're running it on a laptop, you don't want to kill that battery in an hour. So you want it to draw less power, which used to mean that it was far less powerful. Less energy going in meant that it couldn't perform as fast. So there was always a big difference between the desktop class, which is plugging into the wall and drawing as much power as it wanted, could hurtle along doing whatever you needed it to do, and a laptop processor. I've got to say, that seems to be less and less the case now, as processors are heading towards all of them, no matter if it's desktop or laptop, sipping as less power as it possibly can anyway, because it helps control the amount of heat, so you don't get those fans screaming at you. It doesn't throttle down because the processor's too hot. So I think there's far less of a divide between those laptop and desktop class processors now. And look, generally, the laptop processors are a little bit slower than the desktop class, but I don't think it's become much of an issue anymore. And from what you're saying, definitely not.
Well, I mean, I've been using a Lenovo ThinkPad for, a good while now, years, actually. I mean, probably the best part of 5 years I've been using that Lenovo. And every time I power it on, every time I do anything with it, it's absolutely fine. I mean, the desktop, I've had more issues with, if I'm honest. I don't know if that's down to specific hardware within it. It's an HP, and by all accounts, that's the worst possible desktop computer I could ever have bought, based on everyone I've ever met who tells me that. So, okay, fine. But, I have to say, I often think how fast is enough. And at the end of the day, if it performs well enough to do the things I'm doing, which is basic web browsing, which is using NVDA, various add-ons on top of that, if I'm using Audacity to edit audio files. I mean, again, it's doing all of that with ease. I'll tell you what was most interesting. I was downstairs. I was relaxing in my big chair, as I have now decided I want to do more of because it was so relaxing. And I was sitting there with my Lenovo. I was using Remote Incident Manager to connect to that machine. So using the machine upstairs, connected to it. I was actually initially setting it up, but then decided to carry on working on it. I was even editing audio with zero lag. I mean, I'm talking zero lag here. Now, of course, there's a couple of combinations here that's important. If you're using a laptop, you're using a keyboard that's connected, right? It's wired in. If you're using USB-C earpods or even 3.5 mil AirPods, whatever you're using, essentially if it's wired, if the headset you're listening through is wired, then that connection is solid. So you're going to reduce all the chances of lag. If I had introduced, say, wireless Bluetooth earbuds and a Bluetooth keyboard into the mix and tried to do that remotely on a laptop, it may have felt like there was more lag. So the more you can reduce the lag, the better. And you can do that by being wired. Of course, the keyboard's in there, your headset's wired, so that reduces it to some degree. But connecting over a network in the same house. I mean, I wasn't outside. I was in the house. So I'm connected to the same Wi-Fi, but I was remoting into that machine using a third party through Remote Incident Manager. It was solid. I was genuinely blown away.
There's nothing quite like it when it works well, being able to remote in and work on something like you're sat in front of that computer that's in another room or somewhere else. You're absolutely right. When I do an edit sometimes in the living room on a laptop, I think, I'll just quickly do this. I use a Bluetooth headset and it's laggy. And that's not a network thing. That's just the nature of Bluetooth, right? It's really difficult, but you can work around it. But the fact that you're connecting over a network, we should also say you've got a very high quality network. So, other people's experiences may be slightly different.
I mean, not on this particular occasion. Both machines were wired. They were on Wi-Fi. Both machines were on Wi-Fi. They were not wired in. I do have a fast internet connection. That's for sure.
You do.
I've got a 3 gigabit internet connection. So yes, that's big. But I was connected via Wi-Fi, which of course is capping it to some degree. What, about 600 meg? So, or whatever it is, 600, I can't know whether it works out bad. But basically, it's a lot less. And I was using the Amazon Eero for Wi-Fi. So, that's fairly standard.
That's a beautiful, beautiful system you've got there, Stephen Scott.
Which, by the way, I think we can both agree is probably the most accessible, out of the box anyway, the most accessible mesh Wi-Fi network system you can get.
It's the best one I've ever owned.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely amazing. Look, I'll tell you why I'm surprised by this, because my experience of using something like this, I'm talking to the old school now. You remember the netbooks back in the day? Those tiny, tiny laptops, and they were, but the form factor, absolutely amazing. You could stick it in your inside jacket pocket almost, and now as soon as you turn a screen reader on that, it just...
That was horrible.
That was it. Gone. Absolutely useless. Absolutely useless. And to my experience, a lot of these mini PCs, which is why I mentioned the sort of the dongle style ones in the past, which I have looked into, exactly the same issue. And a lot of that was down to the processor, the Atom processors, the Ion processors that Intel had back in the day, just couldn't handle a screen reader. I think this is really interesting that you've actually took the dive into this, because it does prove, you know what, the performance now, we're on another level. And this is possible for that sort of price. You've got a fully functioning, accessible Windows PC.
And it doesn't have a screen, right? So who cares? I mean, it's a desktop computer. It doesn't need a screen for me. A lot of people out there are going to be listening to this who don't care about having a screen. I do recommend the HDMI dummy. I haven't tried it without it, so I can't say it may well work absolutely fine, but I didn't want to take the chance.
It'll definitely set up.
Yeah.
You can go through the setup without anything being connected, so that's not a problem.
But it's like $2 for an HDMI. It costs nothing. It's like nothing.
Yeah, and it does give you that extra. Well,
and look,
why do you say...
here's the cool thing, right? If you really wanted to, you could have a second monitor connected or a monitor connected to it as well, because it has 2 HDMIs in it. I've never seen that before. I mean, that's amazing to me.
Well, you mentioned the brand name there. What's it called and how do you spell it? Geekom?
It's Geekom. Geekom. Geekom.
Geekom. Okay.
And the one I've gone for, the one I chose was the A5. Now, there are many types out there, and there are cheaper ones. You can get ones that are even cheaper than the one I got. I chose to go for this, A, because it was on a deal, and I wanted it, and that was that. But also, I just kind of felt the specifications kind of lived up to what they would call office ready, like an office machine. It'd be very, good. Honestly, I think this is probably more powerful than it's even giving itself credit for. I think it's a really powerful little machine. And the size, the footprint, the fact that it is the ideal blind person's PC because, you can hook it up. You don't need to have a screen or anything connected to it, I think is great. And the price point means it's accessible to way more people.
And I believe, although this may have been the other brand that you mentioned, which I did look into, I mean...
B-Link,
D-Link, B-Link?
B, as in busy bee. As in
busy B-Link.
One of them.
Yeah.
Earth dies if we don't have them. One of those.
Yeah, okay, thank you. God, you always got to take it to a dark side, haven't you? That's one I keep seeing in my Amazon deals lately. Mm-hmm. They start even cheaper than that. And from what I can tell by the specs, even those would be, absolutely fine for your screen reader use. So, yeah, it's a really interesting time at the minute with these.
I'm really impressed. And like I say, in the box, you've got all the things you need. I mean, you get an HDMI cable with it as well, which some computers, you don't even get that these days. I don't think you get that with a Mac Mini at all. Obviously, you have the power block. It is a brick that comes with it, and then you can connect the other half of that to the wall. So it's got a separate, I think it's your standard kind of kettle lead type thing.
Yeah.
And then you also get with it a VESA mount, which allows you to, if you do have a monitor, you can actually just attach it to the back of the computer, the back of the monitor. You can basically make it all into one. So it turns a monitor into an all-in-one PC. So that's kind of cool.
I want this in a keyboard.
Well, that's it. This is the thing. Yeah, exactly. Well, but this is the bit that kind of makes it interesting, right? It's almost like they've kind of designed. I mean, that's the size of it, really. It's the size of your traditional kind of, VESA mount, 100 by 100. It's amazing. But the ports as well, just having all that there. I've got to say, I was very impressed. And the usage of it, I mean, I'm using it now. I've not gone back to my big PC desktop at all. I've turned that off. I was intending to use this as a secondary, little machine to just be doing a couple of things around, note-taking and, using File Explorer. And now I'm thinking I could use this as my main everyday machine, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, no, it is very cool. I looked at some of the reviews for these types of machines, and as you mentioned, a lot of them are using them as either a NAS server, just connect a load of hard drives, again, because of the low power usage of this sort of device. But so many people, because of the power of the device, are using them for a Plex server, or a Jellyfin is the other open source version of a media server. I stood
on one of those once. They sting.
Jellyfin.
Oh.
So you put all your, your Blu-rays or whatever rips onto there, or your audiobooks or whatever, and you can access them from anywhere. And the reason people are using the power of these is because it can transcode it. So I don't need 4K on my iPhone, little tiny screen, so transcode it into a smaller resolution to send it over the network. And because of the power, it can do that. And it works really well from all the reviews. Now, that's not really something I'm interested in, but it just shows me that it's capable. And from what you're saying, it just proves it.
The other thing, of course, with the AMD processors is they do run warm. They all do. I will say, though, that it has not heated up particularly much at all. I've been quite impressed by that. You do hear the fans spin up from time to time, but it's very quiet. You'd have to listen to hear it. If you're on a Zoom call, for example, and as I was yesterday for a couple of hours, you can't even hear it. You would have no idea that it's there. If you're recording a podcast with it next to you, it wouldn't bother you in the slightest. It's a very quiet little machine. So very impressed by it. I will say, as I mentioned earlier, Geekom are probably going to bankrupt me, because whilst I was on the website looking up the prices this morning, in particular for our Canadian listeners, because I wanted to look at the pricing there, pricing is actually almost comparable in some ways with the UK pricing, which is very unusual. With some of the higher ends at the moment, you can get this pretty much the same. Depending on the one you go for, you can pretty much spend the same amount of money in the UK to Canadian in terms of the actual number. So you actually save money in Canada by buying it there. So that's interesting. But they also have accessories, and that's the bit that's worrying me. They have Geekom accessories. You can buy a carry case. You can buy a case for it.
Oh, okay. You love a carry case, I've got to say. Can you get a battery pack so you can?
I tell you, I'm hoping that comes, because this would be my on-the-move machine. I'm telling you, I think about the stuff we do when we go out and about, and I'm thinking, I would take this with me. I would set this up. I could set a little box up with all my stuff in it, including this and my Rodecaster, and our microphones. We could just have it all on the move, and just this nice little setup. Oh, amazing.
You can buy USB to DC pin cables. All right. But
Can
then you
you?
got to get the right size, the right polarity. It's not quite as easy as that. But yeah, plug everything into the back of it. I'm sure you'll be fine. You won't break it, Stephen Scott.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? No, look, this is cool. And they are, if you are interested in the higher end, oh yeah, they can serve that as well. They've got some interesting stuff apparently coming out later in the year. They have the, so I've got the A5 mini. They've got the A9 Mega.
Right. What's that? Size of a shed.
So the A9 Mega is very much more, I would say, like the size of the older Mac Mini. So it's a bigger footprint. But you know, it is, I mean, you should look it up, honestly. The specifications on it are just ridiculous. You know, we talk about tops when it comes to AI, and bear in mind, this is probably being built to be used as a device to run AI, as in to run a large language model on itself. So that's what these things are kind of being built for. I mean, of course, you can buy it and use it for anything you want, but you know, that's what they're kind of being designed for. We talked, I remember when Microsoft, and I didn't understand all this, but I remember when Microsoft Surface came out, they were talking about the processors in them having, was it up to 45 tops? And that was a big deal back then. Well, this thing runs 126 tops. So, you know, that sounds good to me.
Is that trillion operations per second?
That's
or
the
something
one.
like that?
Yeah. That's a lot.
It is a lot. So how many computers do you need?
I'm not saying I'm not buying one. I'm just saying I'm advising you on what is available. That's all. Absolutely, I have not bought one, and you can't buy them anyway because they're not out yet. But that price, by the way, I didn't see the Canadian pricing on that, but it's £1,900, so it's a bit more considered.
Okay,
but you can
That's
spend
not a consumer device.
You can spend $1,000 Canadian dollars, and you could get yourself an AMD Ryzen 9 processor or an Intel Core i9, and you're going to get 32 gigabytes of RAM and up to 2 terabytes of storage on there. So, you know, for the price you're paying, I feel like you're putting the money, I think for blind people, we're putting the money into what we're actually interested in. You know, the power, the storage, the RAM. These are the things that matter when it comes to a performance PC for us. So we're not paying for fancy design or 4K screens, OLED, touch screens, you know, glass touchpads, all that stuff we're not paying for. We're not paying for that with this. The money is going to the things we actually would need. And that's why I think these are great for blind people.
You're absolutely right, because what I'm finding now is with the sort of premium laptop or desktop, whatever the computer may be, it's all about the graphics cards. You are paying a lot on top of that for a graphics card that I don't honestly care about. So, yeah, if you can just focus in on, you know, I want the processor performance and I want the memory and the storage. That's all I really care about. And you put the money in there, then, yeah, you are absolutely right. I want one of these now. You're a terrible person.
I remember having a Dell XPS 13-inch laptop, and it was the worst machine I ever used with a screen reader. And I remember sending it back because I said, I just can't use this thing. It's constantly having problems. There were driver issues. There were problems all over it. And, you know, I'm thinking, I start this thing up, no issue at all. Now, look, I'm not saying there's no issues anywhere at all. I will no doubt come across them. And I'll keep you up to date as I go. But I am genuinely excited by this. I love the fact, I mean, even alone the 2.5 gigabit, as I've got a 3 gigabit internet now, I can actually get use out of that on that machine. And I don't have to add any extra hardware to it, which again is a miracle in itself. It's really future proof.
I'm going to say it. All right. I think we can part that. You love it. Okay. Very good. Something else I've noticed. Yeah. No. How excited you are now that you're doing all this screenless.
Oh,
that's
well,
a big deal.
I have to say that I am.
You're almost surprised by yourself, Stephen Scott.
Yeah. So, you know, look, I'm not going to lie. I have fudged my way through most of my life, as I think most people with low vision tend to do, right? We tend to play this game with ourselves, where we play the game of, I'll just manage, or I'll just squint harder at the screen, or, you know, I was talking to someone yesterday about, you know, having a 75-inch TV and magnifier on, trying to do something, and, you know, still, and wondering why I'm struggling.
Yes.
It's that kind of thing. And so, you know, it got to a point where I decided, look, I had to, and this is actually why when we moved the desks around, it was kind of obviously about the show and doing stuff, but this time it was really more about me and what I needed in my office space and what I needed to do my job. And I think the hardest thing to do is when you're using a computer, if you've got any vision at all, you're seeing something on the screen, you're kind of trying to figure out what it is. You can't see it. I mean, in my case, I can't see it, but I know that something's happening on the screen, right? So I'm aware of it. And so it's distracting me from listening to what's actually being said by the computer. I'm looking for example, something like if I hit F4 in a window and it doesn't go away instantly, or maybe it does go away instantly, but the computer doesn't speak quickly enough, then I think something's not quite right with the screen reader. Why is this so slow? Why is this? Yes. You take the screen out of the equation, all that goes away. Yeah. All that goes away because you're only focused on what is being said, not what you're trying to see. And of course, the problem is oftentimes you might be seeing something wrong or inaccurate. I remember telling you the rather amusing story of working on a computer that the computer in front of me was not even the computer I was on. And I was convinced I was seeing things happening on that screen, but it couldn't have been because I was connected to a different computer at that point. I was just listening and getting mixed up.
All the time. I'm looking at what I'm doing, and there's not even, I'm just looking at a blank wall in front of me. There's not even a screen. It's just, I have it in my head because I've been visual memory for so long. It's exactly the same in the real world, by the way. I see things that aren't actually there, or I'm sure that was red, but I can't even see it. So, yeah, but I mean, it's surprising how comfortable that screenless environment becomes and how quickly, right? I know you were a little bit nervous. I'm not saying this is the first time you've gone screenless. Of course it isn't, but it's almost like you've fully dove into this now.
Yeah, it is. It is the first time I've gone all the way, and to the point where, I mean, on the desk behind me, there isn't even a monitor. There's nothing to even connect to. And so that's nerve-wracking. And it's funny because we have a little server that we use for sharing files between us so we can do the show. And it doesn't have a screen attached to that. That's on a Mac. And so that's another exciting experience, especially when you turn off the screen reader by accident. And learn, by the way, that when you use Remote Incident Manager, which I've talked about many times, but I love that application because when you connect to a machine, as I did, connect to the Mac, and the screen reader had been turned off, probably by me at some point, either because it was yapping out of the little mini speaker, and I thought, I'll turn that off just now because we're trying to do the show.
Yeah.
Restarted the computer, it wasn't speaking, connected to it via Remote Incident Manager, and it instantly started up a screen reader. Now, that was the weirdest day I had ever had because I have never used NVDA on a Mac before. That was weird because essentially it's using NVDA. It's not running NVDA on the Mac. Don't get excited. It's not running that, but what it's doing is I don't know how to explain it, but basically it's making it available so that you can use a screen reader. You're using all the same commands on the Mac you would normally do, but you're hearing it through the NVDA voice. And yeah, that was weird. That was the weirdest thing, but thank God for it. So yeah, I mean, I am kind of leaning into it more, not because I'm testing waters here, but because I'm at the stage I kind of need to do it now. It's like I'm now at the point where I can't really fudge it as much anymore. I'm not as good at that anymore. And it's funny, I get criticized sometimes for even suggesting that I have any vision. And there's a great conversation to be had here, and we will probably have it on one of the extras, I'm sure. There's a real blind guilt, I think, that exists among blind people, that if there's any sense of vision, you're, the sighted people will immediately assume you can see everything. Because if you can see something, you can see everything. And blind people, and not all blind people, but I've had my fair share of them over the years, who've said to me, oh, so you can see fine then. You've got some vision. Look at you. You can see something. As if it's like some achievement, as if I'm somehow won in this oppression Olympics game that I'm apparently now part of, in the new Hunger Games that is blindness. And I'm sorry, it's absolute nonsense. This is a really hard journey to do. This is a really hard thing to live through. And the challenge is often keeping smiling for everybody else. But you're not smiling inside. You're absolutely crushed inside because you realize here's another thing I can't do. Here's another thing I'm challenged to do. And then you're being beaten up for it. And you think, come on. And it's not, I expect it from the sighted community. I do. I expect it because they don't know. I don't expect it from blind people. I don't expect it from blind people, and I don't expect it from people who've gone through the same journey themselves. But it happens a lot. You get people who say, well, if you can see something, you can see it. You're not blind. This is the classic. I get it now. I have people on social media saying, oh, you're not blind if you can see something. And do you have any idea what you're talking about? This is coming from a blind person, by the way. Of course you know what I'm talking about because you're blind, but you're still perpetuating this nonsense that a sighted person would come out with. And it irritates me. And what it does is it leads us all to almost walk on eggshells. We're all terrified to speak. I'm terrified to say I can see something because someone says, faker. And it's like, really? Is that what we're at?
Of an honest conversation, doesn't it? And what can actually help and how we actually use technology. So it's, But anyway, you're doing it, Stephen Scott.
I am. And look, you know what? I'm blind. Get over it. And if someone doesn't like the fact that you're saying you're blind because you've got a little bit of vision or whatever you have, and can we just be honest here? A little bit of vision. I mean, again, it's this idea that a little bit of vision equates to something that is remarkable, that is amazing, that is useful. I can barely leave my house successfully every day and not fall over something or walk into something or, because if I don't have that cane, I'm screwed, right?
Yeah.
With the essential tremor now, I have to limit the days I go out because I have to be careful, right? Because it's a physical pain that I get. And if I come home, say, if I had 2 days where I'm out in a row, I met Tim, as I was telling you, Tim Dixon, a good friend. I met him 2 days in a row a couple of weeks ago. And that was really considered for me because I thought, I don't know if I can do this. Not going out. I mean, there's the blind factor. You got to think about that. You got to think about all the journey and you got to think about all that and all that anxiety that comes with it. And then you got to think about, okay, physically, am I going to be able to do this? By the end of the second day, when I got home, I was in a lot of pain. And I thought, that's it. I can't go out. And I was meeting someone on the Monday. And that I was dreading. Because I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this.
Can't do it.
So when someone says to me, oh, you've got a bit of vision so you can see, so you're not blind. It's like, you've got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think the important thing.
And the best thing to do in that scenario is shut your mouth.
Oh,
that's the best thing you can do. Just, you know what? If you
touched a nerve.
As my
here.
granny, are you kidding me? Of course it touched a nerve. Why wouldn't it? And listen, as my grandmother used to say, my late grandmother used to say, if you've nothing nice to say nothing at all. That's the clean version of what I'm thinking in my head.
I think there is a time where sort of how much, if you can see anything at all, is important. And that's if you're saying to someone, hey, you should be able to do this as well, because as we all know, we've all got different levels of vision. As long as you're open and honest and say, well, actually, to do this certain bit or this, I'm squinting away at the screen or I'm magnifying or whatever else. That's the only time that really should come into anything. Because we all know mobility, totally different. For the longest time.
I don't know, though. My experience of that is that if you in any way, sometimes I think there's a point where if you tell someone, especially if you're the type of person who, because I feel we're always trying to make other people feel better. That's what it feels like to me. It's like we're always trying. No, but I mean, it's like, you're always trying to make someone feel better about you. Because it's like you've hurt them by telling them you're blind. Oh my goodness. Oh, what do we do? And it's like, no, it's everything. It's all right. I'm okay. I'm fine. Honestly, I'm fine. And you do this whole game of, I'm actually okay. And no, it's all right. No, I can see it. It's fine. You can't. You fall in the river or whatever it is. And you think, okay, this is rubbish. This is just rubbish. So, it gets to a point where you do feel, I'm just blind. That's it. Okay, I'm blind. Because it's the only way I can get anything done. It's the only way I can get through my day. And it's not that I'm not blind and I'm acting it. I can't believe I even have to say that, but that's the case. But you just have to say, right, look, my vision is to the extent that this is just not doable. And that is the hard, the bit that gets me is that what I'm saying out loud right now has taken me the best part of 10 years to be able to say.
Absolutely. And it still stings a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. So when someone comes along and says, but you said you bought a VR headset once. It's like, yeah, I did. Because you know what? I thought I could try it. I thought I'd give it myself a chance. I thought I'd have some hope that I might be able to use it. I can't. Thanks for reminding me. It's just, honestly. But anyway, look, Geekom, great machines. You should definitely check them out. Honestly, great machine. I really, really enjoyed using it. And I will report back on more. If you have any questions or anything you want me to try, please do let me know. You can email and get in touch in all the usual ways. We're almost out of time for today. Goodness me, I was hoping to get some emails in.
Really?
We didn't get very far. Yeah, I know.
I was expecting the halftime break here. Wow,
we're done. No, we're
Doesn't
out.
time fly?
It absolutely does. Yeah, listen, keep your feedback coming. We will get into more of it tomorrow. We've got plenty to get through, so check that out. And there's something else I wanted to mention before I went. I think Envision are hosting a webinar. We must post info to this. They're hosting a webinar soon to explain more about the Ally Solos glasses, since we're heading up to the point where I guess they'll be released at the end of October, by all accounts. Pre-orders are still continuing, and I do see that super early bird price is actually still available. So if you're trying to get hold of a pair of Ally Solos and you're thinking of going down that road, then, well worth checking that out. ally.me/glasses, I think is the website address. And that's from memory, so it will absolutely be right. No questions asked. 100% correct.
Look out for it. Okay.
On an internet near you. Listen, that is it for us for today. Thank you, as always, for listening to our rants and rambles. Maybe check us out on Ramblio if you're there. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.